All right, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to members of the MAG Management Committee. This meeting is now called to order. For those around the table, please turn on your microphone when speaking. For those participating via Zoom, it looks like we have quite a few, please state your name when making a comment or asking a question. The MAG public comment process allows members of the public to comment on items on today's agenda or on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction. If you would like to comment at today's meeting, please fill out a request to speak card located on the information table in the hallway and give it to MAG staff. If you parked in the garage, parking validators are available on the information table in the hallway. If you purchase a transit ticket to come to the meeting, please see staff for a ticket. Hearing assisted devices are available from MAG staff. We'll now begin the meeting with a roll call of all members. MAG staff will do the roll call and please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the Management Committee, I will go down alphabetically. Please mute and indicate if you are present. Patrick Banger.
Present.
Thank you. Jeffrey Barton.
Present.
Thank you. Jean Blackman.
Present.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, Chris Brady.
Here.
Thank you. Marge Zilla as proxy for Andrew Ching.
Here.
Thank you. Ron Corbin.
Here.
Thank you. Dan Cotterman.
Here.
Thank you. Suzanne Jones for Kathleen Curley. Henry Darwin.
Present.
Thank you. Philip Dorchester. Crystal Dykes.
Present.
Thank you. Carrie Dyrick.
Present.
Thank you. Stephen Erno. Russ Martin for Lisa. Excuse me, Mr. Erno, are you present?
And what was that number? Could you repeat it?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you, Mr. Erno. And Russ Martin for Lisa Garcia. Heather Wilkie for Bruce Gardner.
Present.
Thank you. Ben Bitter for Rick Horst.
Here.
Thank you. Jill Kymack. Jeff Kulaga.
Here.
Jill is here too.
Thank you, Ms. Kymack. Leah Liu. Reyes Medrano. Jessica Mefford Miller.
Present.
Thank you. Jennifer Jack for Brian Myers.
Present.
Thank you. Grady Miller.
Present.
Thank you. Gary Neese. Kevin Phelps.
Here.
Thank you. Matt Busby for Bryant Powell.
Here.
Thank you. Wynette Reed.
Present.
Thank you. Joy Rich.
Here.
Thank you. Bill Murphy for Jim Thompson. Mark Sanders for Director Toth.
Present.
Thank you. Kathy Valenzuela. One more time, Kathy Valenzuela. Matthew Williams.
Present.
Thank you. Tracy Montgomery for Bob Wingenroth.
Present.
Thank you. Joshua Wright.
Here.
Thank you. Is there anyone that I missed? Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Thank you. Please join me for Pledge of Allegiance. You please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, before we begin, the first item I'd like to welcome a new member to the committee. We have Goodyear City Manager Wynette Reed. Welcome.
Thank you.
Our next item is call to the audience. This is an opportunity for the public to comment on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction that are not on the agenda or that are on the agenda for discussion and not for action. 15 minutes will be provided for the call to the audience agenda item, unless the committee requests an exception to this limit. So we just have one, is that correct? All right, so I have received one request to speak hard. So we will invite Diane Barker to come forward. Where you been?
Thank you, Chairman Brady and MAG managers. Where have I been? Getting ready for my next cartwheel.
Oh, goodness.
Yes.
Not here, not here.
You know, I've had a shoulder contusion,
Oh.
so it kind of kept me down, but people have asked me, when am I going to do that? And I says, well, it won't be at MAG.
Good.
But anyway, you know, I woke up this morning and I forgot that I had turned up my radio for some music. And here's blasting, "It's a Man's World. It's a Man's World." And I'm going, oh boy, somebody's really doing this because it's Women's History Month. But it was because they were playing that song because they says it wouldn't be anything without a woman or a girl. So he was trying, and you know, guys, we've been supporting you guys for a long time. So anyway, I think that when I saw 4 pilots, they were all women, and they flew over Hans Park for the Super Bowl activities. That was really remarkable and historical. And my brother, being a U.S. Air Force pilot, I'd asked him before about if he had flown with any females. And he said that yes. And then he described one that he thought was good. Well, that's been some years ago. And the true thing is that women have been flying for a long time. And actually, I understand we flew more miles in World War II because we delivered planes that were made out in California to the pilots that went to fight. And they would be delivered by the males flying from the United States or Canada over to where my father was flying as an Air Force in England. But I'm just here to also say that I've been watching the bills for Prop 400. There are various ones, I think at least 4 out at the legislature. This area has a lot of different ideas. About 2 of those, I guess, MAG supports, but I really think that we need to be thinking bigger. And even California has now 200 miles that they're going to be on a train at 189 miles from California to Las Vegas. We need to think big. If I'm going to be crazy lady with cartwheels, a maglev that will be an entrepreneur, and it will have not only freight or passenger, and we don't put all the pavement that doesn't soak the rain that we need. And we do that from here to Las Vegas first. Thank you.
Diane. MAG also provides opportunity for members of the public to submit written comments via the MAG website 1 hour prior to the meeting. Staff, do we have any written comments for this item?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We've not received any written comments for this item or any item on today's agenda.
Wonderful. We'll move to item number 4, Executive Director's Report. MAG Executive Director Eric Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Management Committee. A couple items for you today. Go to the next slide. So very pleased to welcome Ed Zucker, sitting to my left here, as the incoming MAG Executive Director. His title now is Managing Executive Director, I think it is. But anyway, so we'll be the Executive Director twins here for the next couple of months. But it does give us an opportunity to transition the organization in an orderly manner. So very pleased that Ed decided to join MAG, and that through the support of the Executive Committee and Regional Council, they approved his contract. So I would like to also point out, we're going to have a reception for stakeholders and other friends of MAG after Regional Council on March 22nd, 1 to 3 or so. So we inviting, Valley Metro, ADOT, and other stakeholders around the Valley to come in and say hello. So go to the next slide. Also very pleased to announce that MAG has been honored as WTS Arizona Employer of the Year. MAG was submitted for consideration on this award by Maricopa County. We appreciate their support for the organization. The nomination noted MAG's leadership, expert work on Prop 400, extension efforts, and mentorship of interns, which we are very important to our long-term success as an organization. So thank you, Mr. Chair. That completes my report.
Thank you, Eric. Contact Eric after me if you have any questions. Now proceed to the approval of the consent agenda. The approval of items 5A through 5F are on the consent agenda. Does any member of the committee have questions or request a presentation on any of these items? I don't think we have any requests to speak on this item, do we, staff? Okay. All right. Turn the page here. Is there a motion to approve consent items 5A through 5F? Need a
So
motion.
moved.
Have a motion for approval. Do I have a second?
Second. Second.
I have a motion and a second motion from Grady. Second from Jeff. Staff, will you provide a roll call vote of all members present? Or wait, so can we do, how do we do this again? I can do it here and then we'll do the roll call virtually. Sorry. All right. So we have a motion and a second. For those who are present, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. All right. And then staff will do a roll call vote of the members participating virtually. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I will go down the list of members participating virtually. Please indicate how you vote. Jean Blackman.
Yes.
Thank you. Ron Corbin.
Yes.
Thank you. Suzanne Jones. Henry Darwin.
Yes.
Thank you. Crystal Dykes.
Yes.
Thank you. Carrie Dyrick.
Yes.
Thank you. Stephen Erno.
Yes.
Thank you. Ben Bitter. Blackman.
Aye.
Thank you. Joe Kymack.
Aye.
Thank you. Jeff Kulaga.
Aye.
Thank you. Kevin Phelps.
Aye.
Thank you. Matt Busby.
Aye.
Thank you. Joy Rich.
Aye.
Thank you. Mark Sanders.
Aye.
Thank you. Kathy Valenzuela. Matthew Williams.
Aye.
Thank you. Is there anyone attending virtually that I missed?
Bill Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Is there anything else that I missed?
This is Suzanne Jones. Aye.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Mr. Chair, the motion passes.
Thank you very much. We'll now proceed to item number 6. Item number 6 is the Regional Affordable Housing Public Education Campaign update. To present this item is MAG Deputy Executive Director Amy St. Peter and MAG Communications Director Kelly Taft. This item is on the agenda for information and discussion. Amy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. We're very pleased to be able to offer this update to you today. So if you recall, this campaign is part of the Pathways Homelessness Regional Action Plan for Local and Tribal Governments that the Regional Council unanimously approved back in December of 2021. Also back in April of 2022, we officially merged our efforts to develop a campaign with Home Matters to Arizona and a number of their partners as well, because we wanted to be able to leverage each other's expertise and expand our overall impact and not confuse the marketplace. During our last update to you in November, we were able to present to you the brand marketing strategy, and we're eager today to be able to offer you the logo and the name for that campaign. You can see the name is Home is Where It All Starts. These materials were developed on the basis of extensive input. So we want to thank you for your input, for your staff coming to the local jurisdiction committee. They provided invaluable input throughout this process. Also the continuing care. We've held a number of public input sessions and meetings with the different committees and presentations like this to you. So thank you so much for your feedback. we're eager for any feedback that you might have today as well. If we can go to the next slide, please, Craig. So first, we want to start with the why. Why are we conducting this campaign? Besides the fact that it's part of Pathways Home. This is a photo of Claire and her daughter. They live here in this region. Claire and her family experienced homelessness because they could not afford housing. Thanks to a local nonprofit, they're able to receive support. And now today they're stabilized and they're in housing and they're able to work and go to school and take care of all of their medical needs. Their lives are stable now. And so for Claire and for so many others like her, who are struggling to find a home, we're conducting this campaign. The overall goal of the campaign is to increase acceptance of affordable housing throughout the region in a way that really speaks to the priorities and the preferences of each community, but in a regional and coordinated fashion. So we're excited to be able to offer this to you today. Next slide, please. And this is what we're trying to do through their campaign. We are striving to inspire and to cultivate champions throughout the region to be able to promote more affordable rents and mortgages and having that more diverse housing portfolio in all of our communities throughout the region. And when we talk about how where everyone has a home that meets their needs is defined pretty broadly. It's not just about money, it's about being close to the people and places that matter to you, such as your place of employment, your family, your friends, your congregation, medical care, and the like. Next slide, please. And so in order to hold ourselves accountable and to clearly articulate the progress that we're making through this campaign, we are in the process of developing a handful of long-term goals and short-term goals. So you see the long-term goals in front of you now, and we'll know that these efforts are successful if we're able to achieve these. And the first one really is developing that new framing for affordable rents and mortgages. It's hard to promote something when you can't really talk about it. So the word, even the term affordable housing comes with it, unfortunately, quite a bit of baggage. And so we've done extensive research to ascertain what are the messages that will resonate with people. And so we're offering this framework. We're offering this in terms of a regional basis, but in the kinds of materials that can be used by local communities as you determine how you can best deploy this campaign to your residents and to your stakeholders. So we're reaching out to a few main target audiences, such as elected officials and decision makers, the developers, likely voters, and other key stakeholders, and really helping them and giving them the materials that they might need to be a champion for more affordable rents and mortgages. We're also wanting to build different groups of support for affordable rents and mortgages across the state, and to empower them with some consistent and tested messaging that will likely resonate in their communities. We're also wanting to measure our success by the number of communities that do have more housing options in a way that really fits a character of their communities, and that fewer people in Arizona are experiencing barriers to housing the way that Claire did. If we can go to the next slide, please. Also, in order to meet these long-term goals, it's important to have short-term goals so that we can assess our progress very quickly and be able to make any mid-course adjustments as needed. And so these are very much connected to those long-term goals. And right now, what we've done is we've created a very intentional messaging framework. And again, this framework will be deployed regionally. We do have the funds, thanks to your support, for regional media buys, but we hope that local communities will also be able to use this messaging pretty quickly when this campaign is launched within the next month. We also want to increase the number of housing champions in a variety of different sectors so that we can have a really diverse appeal to a broad array of stakeholders. Again, we're wanting to support those active, the coalitions of support for affordable rents and mortgages. And then finally, we have under development right now a toolkit that will be provided with calls to action and materials so that you'll have the social media posts, for example, the web text, for example, so that you can use these materials in your local communities as we deploy these resources throughout the region. At this point in the presentation, I'd like to shift over to Kelly Taft. She's our communication director here at MAG, and she's been an instrumental part of developing this campaign.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, and Amy. So among the progress that we've made since we last presented to you, as you've been seeing throughout this presentation, is the development and adoption of a name and a visual identity or logo. To get to this final identity, just wanted to take a step back and remind you that we did conduct some extensive research and outreach to develop options that did resonate with all of the diverse stakeholders. For those of you who may have participated in that public input session when we went through the naming, we had presented 3 options at that time. But one of the things that we really wanted to do with this campaign is to hold it to a really high standard when it came to trademarking, to ensure that as we share these materials with all of your communities, we aren't putting anybody at risk in terms of potential trademark concerns of another agency using a similar mark. So unfortunately, those first 3 names did not pass that legal review. We were extremely fortunate that Home Matters to Arizona, which has been our key partner in the development of this campaign, had already trademarked Home is Where It All Starts several years ago, and they hadn't been using it. And what was wonderful about the Home is Where It All Starts is that it actually really did meet all of the criteria from the feedback that we had received in those input sessions. So it was just a win-win all the way around. In terms of the visual identity, then once we had the name, we started working on the logo. It is a keyhole motif, which has very rich meaning. It's the entrance, it is the start, it unlocks a new beginning. It relates to the concept of the literal structure of a home or apartment. We feel like the contoured lines are very welcoming. The palette includes colors that are very bright and joyful and warm. The interior is very reflective of Arizona's beauty, which highlights the shared home where we all live and that greater community that we're part of. So it also just reflects our key messaging that all of us have a stake in addressing the need for affordable rents and mortgages. Craig, you can change to the next slide. So this is just an example of how a brand might be used with the messaging on a collateral piece. And then you can go to the next slide. So with the help of the Cox Integrated Partnership, we've launched the website homeiswhereitallstarts.org. We'd love for you to take a look at it. Central to our core strategy is to tell the story about home and what is possible with home. And our intention is to populate the site with real success stories of people with lived experience from right here in Arizona. So I know that you'll see some stock photos for now, but we're working on getting some additional assets of people that we can really share the local success stories as well. You can change the slide, Craig. So we're also completing the toolkit. I think Amy mentioned this. It's going to be available to you very soon. It includes specific calls to action, again, ads, key messaging, sample social media posts, and then branding guidelines. You can change the slide. So we did have an opportunity that was very exciting to us to roll out the campaign during the Arizona Housing Coalition conference just last week. So a graphic artist, she's called a graphic recorder. She listened to the discussions in which we asked people, what does home mean for you as you're looking kind of into that keyhole? And also, what does home mean for the broader community as you're kind of looking out the keyhole? And as she had these discussions, she captured some of the key thoughts through her artwork. So this is one of the examples of what does having a home mean for the community? You can change the slide, Craig. So the next, I'm sorry, this is where I'm going to turn it back over to Amy to talk to you about the next steps.
Thank you very much. We are excited for any feedback that you might have, particularly in terms of how we can get the messaging out. We did have a soft launch at the coalition conference. We are looking at having a full launch though within the next month. This means that we'll be able to deploy these resources out into the community on that regional basis, as well as to share it with you for your use at the community level as well. We are very excited about the Cox Integrated Partnership. This means that we're able to really at least double our investment to them or our payment to them. And so we're able to pay them $150,000 across a whole collaborative statewide. And then in return, we'll receive at least $300,000, if not more, of product in return. So they developed the website for us. They're working on different collateral that will be included in the toolkit. And then they're helping us out with those media buys to the surrounding, to be able to tap into multiple outlets then throughout the region and then ultimately throughout the state as well. And so we are very thankful to those who have contributed so far to the regional funds for this. That includes the Virginia G. Piper Charitable Trust, Town of Paradise Valley, Town of Fountain Hills, and the City of Avondale. We do have funds remaining after the payment to Cox Integrated Partnership for additional media buys that we would direct on our own. And so we're thankful for any additional support that anyone might want to offer so that we can further spread this message throughout the region. We are eager to share that toolkit with you. We work very closely with your public information officers and with your staff, and we're eager for any additional feedback they might have and that continuing partnership to be able to get the word out about this campaign, to start to reshape the narrative in terms of how we refer to affordable rents and mortgages, and to encourage greater acceptance of this throughout the region. That does conclude our presentation. If we could go to the next slide, please. And that was Clara and her full family in that last picture. If you scan that, the QR code there, that will bring you to the website where you can access materials about this campaign. We'll continue to update that with additional collateral such as the toolkit. And please do feel free to reach out to Kelly or I at any point with any feedback, questions, or suggestions that you might have. That does conclude our formal presentation. We'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Mr. Chairman, back to you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions, members of the committee? Present or virtually?
I just have a comment, if
Yes,
I may,
Deb.
Mr. Chair. I don't have any questions. I had questions last time when you presented the preliminary work. I just want to say well done. I really appreciate it. It's been thoughtfully done. I appreciate that you recognize the need to focus on branding and messaging so that we can get people to relate to and respond to this crisis. I think it's excellent.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Amy and Kelly.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Josh, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Great job. I echo those sentiments. I think we've seen this evolve over the last few months, and it's been very exciting to see how you captured a sentiment that I think we all share throughout our communities. Maybe an obvious question that I'm sure you anticipated today is, with all the conversation happening in the state, especially at the legislative level, how do we avoid losing the message as this gets rolled out and having this really weaponized against us in our own communities? I think that's a fear that probably a lot of us share as much as we want to tell this story.
Absolutely. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Wright, and members of the committee, thank you for that question. It's something that we're mindful of every day. We are, and that's really a big part of the reason, or at least a part of the reason why we've been so intentional about that messaging. We've based it in research. We've vetted the messaging extensively. We have a guideline basically that we're using for internal use. And then anything that we share externally is based off of that internal messaging that we've thoroughly vetted. We're also mindful of how political winds may shift, and we're monitoring for opportunities where maybe partners could take a step forward if we need to take a step back. And that's part of the beauty actually of working within a coalition, because we each have different sensitivities. But thank you for that. Thank you.
Anyone else? So just an observation, I'm assuming, because I haven't seen all the material, and I think Kelly made mention of it, but this is also suggesting it's not just single family home is where the home is. It can be a multifamily. Is that correct?
Mr.
So
Chairman,
somewhere in the materials will make that obvious. Is that fair?
Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, absolutely. With the visuals, we'll be sure to present an array of different kinds of housing, and really what kind of housing communities are taking in will depend on their characteristics and their preferences. So we're not mandating it has to be one model over another. But there's all different kinds of models. So everything from container models, to homes, to multifamily, large style apartment complexes.
All right, thank you. And then Amy, how long will this campaign run for?
Great question, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. We will have the campaign going at least through the end of this calendar year, although we have plans in place to extend it beyond that. And we're prepared to help to work very closely with you to evolve the campaign as those needs change and as opportunities arise.
You had mentioned earlier this week that you have certain kind of measurements you're looking at in, perform. So how long do you think before you would like to come back? I mean, it seems like that'd be a good opportunity at some point. I don't know when that is, right? To come back to us, and I guess you should decide that, but I think it'd be helpful for us to kind of hear results and whatever measurements of success that you've defined.
We would be thrilled to share those with you.
Okay.
Thank you
Great. Thank you. Thank you very
very
much.
much.
All right. We're ready to proceed to item 7. Item 7 is discussion of the development of the MAG fiscal year 2024-2025 Biennial Unified Planning Work Program and Budget. Here to present is MAG Accounting Program Manager, Amy Appley. Sorry. Oh, you're here in person today too. Well, this is exciting. This item is on the agenda for information and discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the Management Committee, for allowing me to present today on the fiscal year 24 and 25 Biennial Unified Planning Work Program and Budget. As you know, we have been presenting since January, and And in January, we presented a draft of the dues and the assessments where we had finalized the fiscal year 24 CPIU of 4.7%. And we provided the budget production timeline. In February, we provided an additional update to the draft dues and assessments where we increased the 911 assessment by the 92,416 to cover a portion of the costs associated with the evaluation of the 911 system that MEG is paying in fiscal year 23. And we also updated the fiscal year 25 raise based on the final CPIU of 8.017%. And we provided a draft of the new and ongoing projects for fiscal year 24 and 25. In March, we are providing an update to the dues and assessments, and we have draft UPWEP documents, which include the budget in brief and the UPWEP, which has the project outcome measures and the 22 and 23 results. Next slide, please. In April, we will provide a draft of the UPWEP and budget documents and any additional updates or additional details that are completed. In April, we will also have the Biennial Intermodal Planning Group meeting held on April 11th. And the participants include ADOT, FTA, FHWA, Valley Metro, and other external partners. And in May, we will provide a final draft of the Biennial Unified Planning Budget document for approval. Next slide, please. In attachment A of your agenda packet, you'll find the fiscal year 24 and 25 updated draft dues and assessments. For both fiscal year 24 and 25, the member dues have been increased to include funding for the state legislative services. The current RFP will not be completed in time for the UPWEP approval in May. So MEG has included $100,000 for fiscal year 24 and 25 to cover the costs for those years and recoup some of the costs from fiscal year 23. Also, the 911 assessment has been adjusted based on the participants. Gilbert and Wickenburg have been removed since the last time, and the remaining have been reallocated both based on the appropriated costs in their percentage of population. Next slide, please. In attachment B, you will find the draft budget in brief, where we have the list of ongoing and new projects. And we will also be providing biennial budget summary to highlight and summarize the financial information that's in the 300+ page UPWEP. Attachment C includes the draft UPWEP document, which includes the fiscal year 24 and 25 outcome measures and the goals, and the fiscal year 22 through 23 results from the outcome measures and the goals set for that UPWEP year. Next slide, please. I provided my contact information, and this concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Amy. Do we have any questions for Amy? Anybody virtually? Again, this item is on the agenda for information and discussion. Thank you, Amy, very much. We're now ready to proceed to item number 8. Item number 8 is an update on activities of the 911 Study Committee and will be presented by MAG Information Technology Director Audrey Skidmore. This item is on the agenda for information and discussion. Audrey, please.
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. I just want to provide an update on where the consultants are and where they're heading in the near term. We are starting the interview process. They are going to be interviewing for every agency that has a PSAP, the PSAP manager, the 911 oversight committee member or equivalent, and the city manager or your designee. We've been looking at the challenge of trying to coordinate all those schedules at each agency, and we have decided to focus on trying to do the PSAP manager and the 911 oversight committee person together, hopefully in the morning or afternoon on site, so that they can view the PSAP and then coordinate with you to meet your schedules as best we can. The consultant will be coming to the next study committee meeting and will be available before and after that meeting for any of you who wish to meet with them at that time to have your interview at that point. The interviews are expected to last about an hour and are going to be mostly conversational. So there are key points that are going to be discussed, the items that we had identified in the scope of work that we wanted to get your feelings on and your direction on. The conversations will become more technical as we move to the PSAP committee. So from the city management level, the questions are going to be more policy and directional. And then as we get down to the PSAP level, there'll be more those, but also types of equipment, things, services they're interested in. And we also got the initial request from task 2, which is the actual survey of equipment and looking at what our peer agencies have around the country. And so we've started to collect that information. Maricopa Region 911 is going to fill out most of that, and then we will forward it to the PSAPs to fill in the more specialized information that they have. And that concludes my report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Audrey. Kevin Phelps, are you still with us online?
Yes, sir.
Do you want to say anything regarding our committee activities and where we are? That maybe you're such a distinguished city manager of the Valley for so many years. I think hearing from you about where we are in the process. Could you just maybe share some of your thoughts about where we are right now?
Well, first, I think it goes without saying we have an outstanding chair in Mr. Brady leading this effort. And so I want to use my 7 years of experience of acknowledging that, Mr. Brady. But on a more serious note, yeah, I think we're making great progress. We have, I think we're really comfortable with the consultant coming on board, but the real work is beginning now as we really start doing the assessment of the systems. And, you know, I think we all feel pretty confident that when this process is done, that we're going to have some really good recommendations and some really good options for how we improve the MR 911 system.
Thanks, Kevin. Josh, I know you're on the committee. Any thoughts you want to share? And then Dan, I'm going to ask you to I think we've been having a subcommittee. I think you just share with the group kind of where we're at, what your thoughts are.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. The only thing I would add to what's been said is just to reemphasize the timeliness of the next steps. We want to be able to get back to the full management committee with recommendations sooner than later. And we realize there's a lot of moving parts that are happening in the region as we speak, as well as that relate to the state. And so we want to make sure as you get those emails and those requests to meet with the consultant, please intervene as necessary to make sure your staff and you yourself are setting up those meetings and getting that feedback to the consultant as quickly as possible. I think that's probably the biggest ask we have right now.
Perfect. Thanks, Josh. Dan, any thoughts?
Thank you, Chair. I think Mr. Wright really described it great. I do want to just recognize that we have fantastic co-chairs on that committee. So thank you both for your service.
Never do this again.
Okay, I forgot to add that also. Thank you, Dan. I really like the co-chair.
Okay, so let me just say this. This is really important, right? There's a lot of things we talk about as a region, or we coordinate planning efforts, and we talk about transportation planning, and we talk about air quality and home social services. This is kind of one of those things that's hands-on, right? That we're all doing together. And so we really need sometimes it just happens and we just kind of take for granted. Right now, we're kind of at a pivot point, and I think that's why we're having all this work at the subcommittee, bringing consultants in. We really want to establish what's kind of national best practices for regions of our size. So hopefully this will be very valuable information. I know there's a lot of kind of underlying issues going on, but we'd ask everybody just kind of hold on and give us a chance to kind of bring these recommendations out and have a good discussion about what that means for the region. I think one of the biggest concerns I have as the region moves forward in 911 is today, the way it's set up, it's almost even more important than like automatic aid, because when systems go down, you need backups. And with those backups have to have some kind of consistency or at least compatibility. And right now, if your system goes down and you're on the west side, your backup is Phoenix, as I understand it. And if it happens on the east side, it's more likely going to be Mesa. So we got to figure out how to keep those intact and keep working together to find a way that everybody has a high level of confidence in what we're doing and it's sustainable and reliable going into the future. And Audrey's done a great job helping us with the committee stay on focus. We think we're pretty comfortable with the consultants we have. They have a national reputation. So I think that is, like Josh said, please make the time to meet with them. Maybe you may want to meet with your PSAP managers, just kind of get a sense of what their perspective, but from a policy standpoint, hopefully doing things together as a region will continue to be very important. So, all right. No other comments? Thank you, Audrey. All right, we'll proceed to item 9. MAG Policy and Government Relations Director Nathan Pryor will present the legislative update.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Management Committee. Of course, we continue our efforts on the Prop 400 extension. Beginning of session, a lot of attention was on the Senate Transportation and Technology Committee. Since then, we've pivoted our attention to the House Transportation Infrastructure Committee. In recent weeks in the House, have been focused on Representative Cook's House Bill 2031. But procedurally, just with the machinations going on and process at the legislature, 2031 no longer a viable bill vehicle procedurally. However, Representative Cook has indicated willingness to have stakeholder meetings, and those have occurred. Representative Cook also remains committed to moving this issue forward and had been working to identify an alternative bill vehicle outside of 2031. In fact, this week, a new bill vehicle has emerged. That is Senate Bill 1246 as a strike everything. That bill is scheduled to be heard today at 2 p.m. in the House Transportation Infrastructure Committee. Noting that today that is only for discussion only on 1246, with a potential vote coming at a future committee meeting, perhaps as soon as next week. Mayor Weiss, our MAG Regional Council Chair, will be speaking today at the House Committee meeting. Also of note, MAG has signed in against 1246, but also when we signed in, we provided important comments, first of which is we are appreciative of Representative Cook sponsoring this bill and continuing to work to get something through on this end on the extension. Second note was MAG support of the bill being affirmatively voted out of the committee. With the kind of shortage of bill vehicles, it's important that we keep this effort going. So while we're against the bill, and I'll come back to some of those provisions, we're seeing this bill as a good vehicle that we'll continue to work on when it is hopefully voted out of committee. And third, that we're looking forward to working together to address the funding allocations and other technical issues of this bill. Just a notable funding allocation issue in our regionally adopted plan for transit. It was at 40.4% allocation for transit. 1246 has that transit allocation at 26%. So we're going the wrong way, if you will, from our current allocation. So we're looking forward to working with Representative Cook on this legislation and continue the stakeholder meetings. Also of note, Mr. Chairman, we understand there's another bill in development from Representative Livingston. We're going to keep tracking those developments, have those conversations with the representative, and provide updates as needed. Mr. Chairman, that completes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Nathan. So you're telling me there's a scenario where light rail could be the only thing being operated in the valley? That'd be ironic. Right, Jessica? All right. Any questions or comments for Nathan? All right. Thank you very much. All right. Item 10 is request for future items. Are there any requests by a management committee member for an item on a future agenda? Are there any comments or announcements from the membership? Well, very well. The next meeting of the management committee will be on Wednesday, April 12th at 12 p.m. with no further business. Today's meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.